Welcome back. We've had a weekend of working on our Strawbale walls, putting clay plaster on them. So we'll go through the process of how we're turning our straw bales here into real walls. So this wall isn't done yet. This is just your basic stacked straw bales. This is the laundry room wall. We haven't worked on this one yet. There's still some plumbing inspections and work that needs to be done here. So this wall isn't done. So we've moved upstairs to the upstairs bedroom, which has a straw wall, and this has the clay slip applied, which is the first step in doing the walls. It's clay slip is just clay mixed with water to the consistency where you could just essentially work with it. It gets spread onto these straw bales. It creates a mud connection, essentially, where our plaster, the next step, has an easier time sticking to our straw bales. You can see here kind of the lines along the top and some of the beams where some of the clay plaster has already been applied. So that's the next step, the clay plaster. And we're back down in the living or the dining room kitchen area where the walls have the plaster already applied. You can see there's some gaps where we haven't done all the edges yet. Again, there's some areas with plumbing necessary before we can really get into them. But this is the clay plaster on the walls. These walls have been pretty much completed for this stage. There are other layers that will go on later. It's a dark, kind of deep brown color. We're told that it will dry to that middle color there. That's a piece of wood that has some of the clay slip on it, so it'll just turn to the color of clay. The ultimate color of these walls will probably be white when we're all done and they're painted with the clay paint after a couple more steps. But for now, got a number of walls with all the clay plaster done. Moving along with the house. We just got this window, which isn't here, delivered today. It's on the side of the house, hopefully be installed this coming week. And that'll help complete the full inside of the house. And we could move on from there. So this has been the area where we've been processing and creating the clay plaster. The clay plaster is made up of 3 parts. We have a clay, which here is from a local quarry. This is left over to their quarrying operation where they sift out all the big rocks and the gravels and the sands, and they're left with essentially clay with a bit of silt in it when that's used for our clay part. Up the hill there is our dirt pile. That's where we've been getting our sand. It is very sandy soil here, so that is mostly sand. We can show how we kind of screen that out to make just the dirt into more true sand particles. But the clay I should mention, we also have, we do sift it down to smaller pieces. Here you can see in the wheelbarrow with this kind of sifter device, kind of a similar sifting for the sand. And the third part of the plaster is straw, chopped straw. So this machine is essentially a standing weed whip where we throw in, this is kind of the straw that's left over from the bales, and it creates this much finer straw that's used in the actual plaster and helps hold it all together. There's a mixing machine there where we mix it, and it all comes together into this clay plaster. Here's a batch that's actually been mixed in the mixer. Our 1 part sand, 1 part clay, 1 part straw. You can see it here. It's kind of a nice squishy texture. Great for throwing on the walls. And you can see the end result from what I showed earlier. We have our walls all plastered now.